What's up, everybody? I'm back with another episode of the Keep Going podcast. Today's guest is Marc Wilson. He's a proud Native American. He's a member of the Comanche Little Ponies, a gourd dancer, and much more. In this episode, we dive deep into powwow culture, the history of dances and spiritual songs, the importance of the gourd dance and other dance and activities of the powwow, the importance of structure, cultural traditions, and just honoring the Native American way. This episode was so much fun, getting to talk to an elder and realize we had way more in common than we knew with people we were connected with and just the future that we're going to have together. This episode means so much to me because pushing Native culture has become so important to me through this platform. And since I've put that intent on it, it keeps coming to fruition in so many various ways. I appreciate you all going along with me on the journey. I hope you all learned something today. And as always, keep going. Well, Marc, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
I'll try to not smile the whole time, but just seeing all these artifacts in here and talking about what we're talking about with Native culture, it's a blessing and an honor to sit with you. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Before we start, if you'd like, before we dive into your story, can we break down which these items are just so people can get it?
Sure. These are gourd dance items, gourd dance accoutrements, beaded moccasins. These are traditional. This is a rattle. This is not an original rattle. The rattle with the shakers evolved after probably 60s, 70s. The gourd was originally part of the accoutrement, but then it fell out in favor of the rattle, a little more robust. Mm-hmm. And then this is the gallus, and it's worn over the left shoulder, and it's silver, mescal beans, and bone. And
did you make this as well?
Yeah, I made all of this.
You made all this.
This is the waist sash, which is typical. Mm-hmm. These are actually women curlers.
Okay.
Believe it or not, we cover them with buckskin, and then we bead over them. We peyote or gourd stitch over them. And then this is the fan. The rattle is carried in the right hand and the fan in the left hand for males. Nice. And women don't carry these items and don't wear these items. There's other things you can wear as well. Typical dress is think about business casual. For something like that. So khakis or black. I dance with the Comanche Little Pony Society. We have a tendency to be more formal, so we wear black slacks. And then on special events, we native up. I'll go ahead and put leggings on and, on a cloth and I put an apron and a ribbon shirt. So,
and all of your regalia you made yourself?
Yeah, or my wife or
some family member.
Yeah, a family member. So, yeah.
What's the importance of making it yourself? Because as I've started to make my first pair of moccasins and my family members that are helping me say there's so much more meaning when you or a loved one is making that material. Can you explain why it's so important to be able to know how to make your own regalia?
Well, there's the practical side, and that is when it breaks, you know how to fix it. Okay, so there's that functional, practical side. And so I learned from elder people who taught me, and all my sons and daughter will tell you that's what I did. When we built their bustles, I built one feather, and they built the other 71. That way, when it broke, I didn't have to fix it. They fixed it.
Yep.
But, and then today, they're in their 20s all the way up to their mid-30s, and they still powwow and do things, even though they live in different parts of the country. And they're teaching their sons today. So it's a tradition. Mm-hmm. The other thing, too, I'd like to believe that when you take this on and you develop this skill set, you're furthering a next generation of understanding of the culture, who we are, what we are, and then how we express ourselves. And so, I'm an educated person just like you are. I have a bachelor's, a master's, and from various universities and all. I was an engineer and a pilot. But yet I still carry my culture with me. So I can be a person living in the modern age, but still have my foot fairly planted in the culture and tradition where part of my family comes from.
100%.
So,
well, you said as a kid you learned a lot of these things. So take me back to the beginning. How was this implemented in your early life? Did you have elders teaching you how to make things?
Yeah, I really did. There was an influential man. I actually had a coach in Oklahoma City here. I grew up here. We had a sports team. We were baseball and football team. We called ourselves the Redskins. And lo and behold, we were Indian kids or Indian and white kids.
Yeah.
This is the 60s, okay, in the 70s. And he came to us and said, hey, how would you guys like to get together and we'll do a Boy Scout troop, but we'll Indian dance. And this guy's name was Dan Gates. Last I heard, he had moved to New Mexico and had passed on several years ago. But he was influential in bringing us together and then introducing us to the powwow culture. Some of the kids were already from families that were in it. Mm-hmm. I was in a family that was part European white and part Shawnee, culture. And so, but the Indian side was church people. They weren't powwow people, so to speak. They had, and that's a long story, but they had existed outside of that. So, and there was a time in the country when it wasn't cool to be Indian, so to speak. In the 60s and 70s, everybody wanted to be. In the 1900s, because of the issues that had gone on, the biases and things of that nature, and then the impact of assimilation took Native people out of their home life and out of their cultures and put them into European type of cultures, European American. My grandmother was one of those people. And so she was a church woman. And so this was not something you did. Matter of fact, she made clear to me she wasn't happy about it.
She grew up Catholic?
No. Oh. No, she did not. So,
sometimes I know with those boarding schools, there were a lot of Catholic ones.
Yeah. And she grew up, my age, I'm 65, so she wasn't in the hardcore boarding schools that started in the 1850s and, part of the early days that were so harsh on people. Eventually, those gave way to Indian schools that were more closely aligned or closely geographically located. There's the old Indians. You might remember the old Indian school in Lawton.
Yeah.
Right off 44.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of young Indian kids went there, but that's close to home.
So or like St. Patrick's and Anadarko.
Right. Exactly.
So how old were you when you got into that Boy Scout?
I was about 10 or 11.
That's awesome.
And so Mr. Gates had an Indian shop over off of 50th and MacArthur. And then he had a bunch of guys working around there. And so I learned there, and I learned how to do all this stuff. And then we would go dance at powwows. And then I started to get connected with distant family members that were still doing it. It was funny. There was this obstacle within my family, yet I was able to work around it.
Find other connections.
Yeah, find other connections and find out that I had tribal connections in other tribal areas, through marriages and kinship networks and all.
So for your first integration into that culture when you're around 11, did you have to make your regalia for that dance?
You were not allowed to go out and do anything until you made your regalia. And it's interesting. I took that approach with my kids. Nice. When we moved back to West Texas in the mid 2000s and they wanted to get involved. Because it's you have to understand if you're going to adopt a culture, you need to be full in. You either go full in or don't.
Okay.
And you need to respect the culture. That's the real meaning of it. You don't want to go out onto a dance floor. The dance arena and the dance floor is a sacred thing. And so you need to treat it with respect. And that starts with your personal acumen and your preparation. And that means you're ready to go out. Your items are ready. And then you get out onto the floor and then you go through a ceremonial process of getting yourself initiated out onto the floor.
And you did the initiation at 11.
I did that. I had some influential people that helped me with that.
Because they bring you into the circle.
Yes,
right?
They absolutely did. And I had an elder that did that for me and gifted the drum. And then when we moved back from Ohio to Amarillo and I got them back involved in the culture and introduced them, I did the same thing for them in the 2000s.
You were able to bring your own children in.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, over time.
I bet that was impactful for you.
It felt good, but we had to be very careful because they didn't grow up in this culture. They grew up back east. And so they wanted to be introduced. So it was a slow roll. It wasn't a sprint. It was very much a cross country, if you would, methodical. They had to build their own items. They had to go to powwows with me. They had to learn who people were. They had to learn the culture. I wouldn't let them out it was agony for them because they wanted to jump right out, but they had no business to do that.
No, there's steps.
Correct. And so it was a good year. By the end of the first year, they were gourd dancing, and they had made the items necessary and had learned the dance steps and respectful of it. And I brought them out then and brought their way out into the arena. and our two boys and our daughter. And then my wife did the same thing. And so then from then on, they wanted to fancy dance. And then the elder one wanted to do grass dancing. So nobody got out on the arena until they built their items. That was the old rule I learned. That's the rule we were going to apply.
That's probably one of the coolest things that I get told through stories of Native culture is that's the way it's been done. That's how we're going to do it.
That's the way we
and it stays that way. And the only reason I knew the elder part is because I hadn't been brought in yet as far as dancing as an adult. I know I did some light dancing, holding my grandma's hand when I was young.
Some intertribals?
Yeah, some intertribals. But my cousin, him and his wife that are helping me do my moccasins, I thought he had been dancing forever. Mm-hmm. And he was like, no, I just started 3 years ago.
Yeah.
He's like, I had an elder that brought me in and I just started. And it actually motivated me because I was like, oh, I thought if you weren't doing it at 9 years old, 8 years old for your whole life, then it was just non-existent. So it's nice to see not only from him, but then it's circling back with your kids.
Right. Yeah. No, there's no age requirement. It's not age specific. And, the important thing is that you got there. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really it. And that when you get there, you accept the traditions of it and you accept the understanding of the culture. Because powwow people are a distinct group of people. They set themselves apart. And not all Indian people are powwow people. There's an assumption that everybody knows this stuff. But you yourself, you just said you grew up away from it, right? Yeah. And then now you're coming into it at your age. And so now you're in that learning curve. You're in the same learning curve my kids were in at age 15 and age 7 that I was at age 10. And some people, I see people that have come in the last 6, 7 years as well, that just sat on the outside and then decided to come off the sideline and be part of it.
Yeah. And it's like, there's obviously, an ancestral connection because I grew up around it and you're so, I don't know, filled up with energy when you're around it.
Yeah.
And I think it is nice to know that there's an opportunity to get off the sidelines, like you said.
Yeah.
But that first time you went out when they brought you in, how'd you feel at 11? It had to be not overwhelming, but powerful.
There are times in your life, something special and you're in the moment, and I knew it. And those are special times. I mean, even if what you're working on, you were sharing before this, how you're starting your first steps. And you know what's right when you know what's right. It's in your heart. And that's important. I remember a little bit about it. I was up at Oto.
Where's Oto?
It's up in Red Rock, north of Stillwater.
Okay.
The Oto, Missouri, and that's where it happened. And I remember that distinctively. I remember, kind of like that first time you're in a football game, an organized football and your heart's thumping and all that. So, and I can remember stepping back into the arena in 2006 when we moved back to Amarillo, and I'd been gone for 28 years, lived abroad and lived outside of Oklahoma. And so to step back in had that same feeling, but it felt good. I was reconnected.
Yeah. And
there was something missing in my life that I reconnected.
And you're in your 40s at that time?
I would have been in, I would have been 35, 36. Something like that. Wouldn't have been. No, I was 40s. You're right. I've been 44, 45 years old, 46. So I have a hiatus that starts at 22, and I don't pick it back up until 45, 46.
And when you moved back to the Amarillo area, it was automatic. You knew you wanted to get back involved. Had you missed it or?
Well, when our children grew up in Ohio outside of Cleveland, and you come into our house, you're going to see things. And they knew that I had boxes of things, and they knew the family histories because they would come back. But we really never had enough time, and we were never back at the time in the summer the kids could participate in anything. So there's this thing in the background. And so the children were probably more influential in us getting involved because they really wanted to understand this part of where they come from and be introduced to the culture. And so I began to think about this, and I began to think about, well, you've got two distinctively different cultures, and you've got to approach them totally differently. They grew up in one, but they don't know the other. And so it wasn't just simply teaching how to do beadwork. This we can teach all day long, but teaching a culture is a slow, methodical process because they work totally differently. And so we had two jobs to do. And thus is why we were on a slow roll, slow burn on this thing. so we could introduce the culture, have them be around the culture, be around the people, and understand what the values of the people were in the other culture that they had not grown up in. Because once they understood that, they were going to be better mentally and emotionally prepared, along with the structural side of putting themselves out there.
Now, earlier you had said that in Native culture, there's people that are powwow people and not.
Yes.
For the powwow people, can you, in your own words, explain the importance of those gatherings, the importance of the dancing, the grand entry, the gourd dancing, those type of things?
Yeah, I made a couple of notes on some things that I wanted to talk about, because dancing as you and I know it today, even dancing when I started in the late 60s, the right to legally dance had not been given very long. It had been taken away in the 1800s, 1883, and it was legally blocked. There was a religious crimes code, and it was designed to take away cultural practices away from Native peoples, and so it was designed to effectively block it. Now, that doesn't mean that these things weren't done covertly or done on limited basis. But the idea that the powwow that you and I know, number one, didn't even exist back then. Okay. It's a phenomenon that comes after World War II, really. And the only way that you got around dances, and it's really interesting, Clyde Ellis, I brought a book for people to see. Clyde Ellis has a thing called Dancing People, which is a fantastic book. And he talks about these things. So does Dr. Bill Meadows from Missouri State. In his book, Kiowa Apache Warriors, Comanche Warrior Societies, dancing itself was outlawed. And it wasn't until the Indian Recovery Act in the 1930s when they began to negate some of these things and allow for people to express themselves again, and get some ownership back of their cultural items. And the idea was if we give those rights back, then people are going to be less resistant and more able to release things and then adapt their culture and adapt into European-style American cultures. And so we see that trajectory change with the Indian Recovery Act in the 30s. And then H.R. 47 is passed by Nixon, which gives Indians some self-determination rights, and is followed on in 78 by the Religious Freedoms Act by Carter.
In the 70s, wow.
Yeah, that allows Indian people to begin more openly using eagle feathers, hawk feathers. Today, the things that you see, there were restrictions when I started in the late 60s, early 70s against some of this stuff, even still left over that had not yet been legally dealt with, and doors had not been opened up. But
it's crazy how recent it is, you know?
Well, it really is. And Clyde Ellis, I read this book. I was doing some research for some classwork at Oklahoma State. As I retired, I went back to American Indian Studies to kind of deal with my retirement my first 2 years in 23 and 24. It was fascinating to read about the history and about how dance actually survived. Because with dancing being outlawed, ironically, capitalism allowed dance to continue. You've heard of the Wild Wild West shows?
Yeah.
Okay, well, guess what? They had Indian dancers. They had Poncas, Ponies, Kiowas, and they brought traditional dance with them. Okay. So even though at home they weren't supposed to dance and do cultural activities, in capitalistic forms in these road shows, it still existed. Well, think about that for just a minute. These were the narrow channels of dancing that still were allowed to exist. And with those, the survivability of the culture was ensured. So that when we do see this open up, you still have those cultural nuances and cultural practices still there. The number of people still had them. Not a great number like we have today, where it's proliferated, but a narrow channel of people that understood it.
It's crazy how close that could have been to just going the other way.
It was
just being gone. It
was very close to going away. Matter of fact, the Gourd dance, which there's some competition as to who started the Comanches, the Kiowas or the Cheyennes, and I am not going to get into that because that's a very emotional topic. But suffice it to say, those three groups are seen today as the owner caretakers of that dance, and the Kiowas revived it. The Gourd dance did effectively die. In the late 20s, there was a Gourd dance done from what I've read and what I've studied, and Dr. Meadows talks about it, done down near Carnegie in 28. And then at the conclusion of it, there was a tornado that killed one of the participants. And that was the last known gourd dance that was done until the people at the American Indian Expo asked Fred Soodle and some Kiowas did they have gourd dances? Did they have gourd dance songs? And could they put people together in 1955 and let's reintroduce it at
30 years later.
Yeah. And he brought them up there and he sang a number of songs. And in the book, Dancing with People, Clyde Ellis says people openly wept when they heard the songs. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps telling it.
I am too. When you started to say it, I'm like, imagine that being stopped in the 28 and then asking someone to like bring back that medicine.
Yeah.
Like that's, I have my hair standing up because I can only imagine the impact from the range.
Yeah.
The kids that never heard it.
Yeah.
Wondering why it's affecting them that way, or the elders that were alive during that time.
Now, somehow, from the time this recorded event happened in 28, and again, I want to be real clear, that doesn't mean people won't covertly doing this.
Yeah.
Or in their privacy practice. Clearly, these songs survived 30 years in the memories of people or were quietly practiced.
But to even think of it being outlawed and you're doing it hidden, it's like, it's so powerful. Because it's like, dang, I have to hide this.
You can't understand that today.
No.
But there was a different time.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand the context and timing of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people might get anxious and upset today in today's environment about things that happened in the past. It was the past. Things were different. But there were enough people, here's the good news, there were enough people that remembered it that they were able to bring that into the expo in 55. And then from there, it caught fire. And it was quickly shared back with the Comanches and the Cheyennes. And now you have the three owners back owning it. And so here's a dance that almost died. A good example, kind of where you were leading us. It happened, but it was revived, thank goodness. And there was such a small number of people left. And then the Kiowas followed up in about 1957, 58 with the first gourd dance clan, the Taipei. And then that stood up a practice of other clans, other groups were formed. Some were warrior-based groups, some were social groups, and some were historical. You and I earlier were talking about Little Ponies. You said you had one of your relatives, your grandfather was a Little Pony, and I'm in the Little Pony Society. It's a historical society. It's one of two warrior historical groups that had a place. The other one is the Big Horses.
Okay. So Big Horses and Little Ponies.
Yeah, Big Horses and Little Horses were originally what they were called. The Little Ponies were reestablished by 5 Comanche gentlemen in the late 60s, early 70s for Vietnam veterans, for younger people that came home. Now, it's not necessarily, you don't have to be a veteran to be in it. Mm-hmm. I'm a veteran, but it's not necessary. However, the CIVA, Comanche Indian Veterans Association, you do have to be a veteran. So there are some gourd clans and tribes that are veteran-based and some that are not veteran-based. But then there are some that are, the Little Ponies are historically based. The CIVA is loosely, you might say it's loosely resembled around the Big Horses, but not officially.
Well, it's just interesting, the timeline, because that would have been when my grandpa was in his 30s, maybe a little older than
You're
that.
Probably in the early 70s. Then.
Yeah, so early 70s. So to know that, no wonder he was so attached to it.
Yeah.
Because even on his dying days when we were talking, and this was a year ago, a lot of stories about the Little Ponies.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting now to put it into perspective, especially with me being in my 30s. And so, my grandpa around this age was in the beginning of something. Is very interesting.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the insight.
So today, a gourd dance society can be an ambassador for a tribal group. Let's give you a good example.
What do you mean ambassador?
Well, what I mean by that is when you're a gourd dance group, you not only gourd dance at tribal activities like the Comanche, for example. You're aware the Comanche Little Ponies have their own activity in May. Then there's the homecoming in July down at Walters, down on the river. And then there's there's also the Comanche Fair, which is a 3 or 4 day event that goes on in September. So they'll be part of that, participating and facilitating as the gourd clan, host gourd clans. But the Little Ponies, probably 90% of what they do in terms of powwows is outside of Lawton. Little Ponies, just this last year, they were the host Gourd clan at Oklahoma State University for the student powwow. They were the host Gourd clan at the Tonkawa powwow. They were the host Gourd clan. We're already scheduled to be the host Gourd clan for the Eastern Shawnee.
And as a host Gourd clan, that means when the Gourd dance is starting, you are the people running it.
We are strong participants. There'll be a head dancer, and then there will be a Gourd clan that will kind of usher and ensure that the Gourd dance goes on. And Gourd dance,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Your question maybe, where's the Gourd dance fit in a powwow? That's usually what I always get asked.
Yeah, you can explain how it fits, and then I would like briefly of you explaining the process of a Gourd dance.
Okay, so a Gourd dance is an inclusive dance. It's what you might call an intertribal dance. You don't have to be just Comanche or just Cheyenne or just the dance itself has been given to people. The Kiowas gave it to the Oto Missouri back in the late 50s, early 60s. And in response, the Oto Missouris gave them the hand game. So it can be passed off to others officially, but there are people that will come and Gourd dance. If you go out at a powwow in Oklahoma, where the Gourd dance is a fundamental part of it, the first 4 or 5 hours before the dinner break is Gourd dancing, and it's done in sessions, and 6 to 8 songs per session, multiple sessions. Is
there a significance to the amount of songs?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't have an answer for. It's just out of tradition. It's what I understand, and I probably should do a good job understanding that.
Is it the same songs?
The majority of songs are Kiowa in their nature. However, other tribes have written their own songs. As a matter of fact, we were talking about the Little Ponies. Their song is actually a Kiowa song.
Are there classics, though, like these Kiowa songs that people know automatically?
Oh, yeah. Know your song. It's important because, there's different. In the Gourd dance itself, people will dress out. Traditional dress for Gourd dance is what I will call business casual with a button-down shirt and or a ribbon shirt, which I have a few here we can look at in just a minute.
And is that the shawl over the top, and then you're holding the one?
The shawl over the top is more of a formal thing. People will wear it during the day, but at night it's typical to wear it overnight. Okay. But during the day, not everybody wears.
That's where you see them in just the button-up shirt.
Yeah, the button-up shirt or the ribbon shirt.
Yes, sir.
And then the Gourd clans can have their own ribbon shirts, so you can identify the Gourd clan people. If I'm not dancing with my Gourd clan, then I've got my own colors. These are my own colors right here. These were colors that I used as a fancy dancer when I was a young person.
And then if you're with the Gourd dancing clan,
if I'm dancing with the Little Ponies, I'm wearing Comanche colors. I'm wearing the brand. I'm wearing the red, the yellow. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm representing the tribe. And again, as you mentioned, what does that ambassadorship look like? Well, think about it. We're representing a Comanche group of people that have honored us with that, and we need to treat that with respect. So when we're going and being the host Gourd clan, we're there representing a group of people, a distinctive group of people with another distinctive group of people, and we're all watching each other to make sure we're doing it right, And so it's very important to these Gourd clans who they invite, who's part of it, helping them to understand. They look for people with good character that will represent the group well and the people well who they come from.
So when I'm sitting there watching the powwow and I see the people doing the Gourd dance, those people have been selected.
In some cases, yeah. If they're with a Gourd clan, it's a selection process.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, you don't just say I'm going to go join them. It doesn't quite work that way. Now there are hobbyist groups that exist that are Gourd clans, and you can I don't know any. I'm not part of any one of those. Well, OKC Powwow Club is, but OKC Powwow Club is majority of people are Indian people in nature. Now there are some non-Indian people, non-native people. There are some white people in there as well. Black
I went to one recently. Well, I guess that's not recent. It's right before it got cold. So I guess it may have been.
Was it Indian Hills? Was it?
It was Indian Hills.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of Little Ponies. There was a lot of Comanche colors. So it's nice to see the groups like making an appearance.
Yeah, there's a lot of Comanches there. There's a lot of Kiowas involved in that group. I'm actually involved in that group as well. And there's Otos in that group. So it's, and there's non-Indian people that are part of that group too. It's
Before I get too far off, just because you were explaining it, on the Gourd dance, can you explain, I know we were going to go through it, but like the flow. So you said the 6 to 8 songs.
So the flow, the Gourd dance starts with an intro song that's a low volume type song, and everybody sits and they begin to rattle. And then as they move into a second song, off the first verse into the second, there's a hard downbeat and it accelerates, and then that's when the people get up and then they'll dance. And then you'll see the men will stand up and start dancing, and they'll start bouncing on their heels. Mm-hmm. That's to mimic being on a horse. That's what I was told by elders a long time ago. That's what people are still telling others as they teach them. Then the Gourd dance will slow down and you'll start pivoting from your left foot to your right. And you've probably seen this. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's as if you were off your horse walking. Okay. When you hear a strike beat, you'll see people dip for a few steps, pretend like you're on the path looking for something.
Yeah.
And I've been taught that's what by many people that come from Gourd dance families and have taught me that, and I learned that as a young person.
How do you feel when it's going through the stages? So like when you're sitting and then you're standing, how does your body feel different, or your spirit? For you personally?
It's
like I'm getting engaged now?
You are, and the more you know the songs, the more you can engage, because you can anticipate the rhythms and know when you're going to jump, go to bounce to step, when it's going to be over. So there's the functional side of it, mm-hmm. but there's an emotional side too.
Yeah, that's
your question really has two sides to it.
Yeah.
So there's the anticipatory, how do I do it right and not embarrass myself?
Yes, sir.
But then there's boy, how do I feel? Mm-hmm. The drum is there's an inner strength that comes from it. And you appreciate that more and more as you get older. When I came back into it, and I was in my mid-40s, I didn't realize how much I missed the emotional side of it. And you can get pulled in very quickly through the drum. You can feel it.
Feel it.
The elders talk about you feel it in your heart.
I'm getting the goosebumps.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, there were times, I was running a pretty good-sized business in Oklahoma and West Texas. I had a lot of pressure on me. So those weekends I could go to Lawton, or I could go somewhere and Gourd dance and get that relief and get that good feel inside of me. It replaced all that stress, mm-hmm. and it displaced it with good stuff and good feelings. And I could be in another world, and that drum would take me there.
It's so instant.
Oh, it does.
And like for someone like myself that hasn't danced yet, which eventually an elder will bring me in when I feel ready and I've made my items, but that drum pounding, it's like,
yeah.
Like I'm almost teary because it just feels insane. When I go to a powwow by myself with people, but especially by myself, it's almost like no one else is there. And I'm just looking at the dancers and I'm looking at that drum circle.
Then you're getting it.
Yeah.
That's the medicine you're supposed to get. That's mm-hmm. the whole point of it. And that's a connection that you've chosen. That's what I said. Powwow people and people that do this that choose to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the beauty of the connection of your choice, is that you tie into not only the functional craft side, but there's this whole spiritual side of this thing that goes along with it.
Well, I love that you were able to use it as a release.
Yeah.
It's like showing the practical use of it for your spirit is medicine. It's just real medicine. You're elevating yourself, you're working through issues, and you're giving it an environment to come out. And still being able to do something physical, so you're exerting that energy as well. It's just so powerful.
You something I haven't mentioned in 2015, my work transferred me up to Utah. And so for 8 years, I lived up in Salt Lake City. Well, they don't do this. And that first year was so hard for me because I had no outlet.
No powwows.
I had nothing. Powwows did not exist with Gourd dancing up there. Again, this is a phenomenon that's really in the center part of the United States. And it moves up from Oklahoma, radiates down to Texas, over into New Mexico, a little back under the Mississippi Valley, and then it moves north in Nebraska. And some tribes will do it further north, some don't. The further away you get from here, fewer and fewer tribes actually do it, but hobbyist groups might do it. And so it begins to change from a tribal-driven activity to more of a hobby. My oldest son's 35, he lives in Florida. They don't Gourd dance. So he goes to powwows and he grass dances, and his kids feather dance. So, it's
what's
really
so interesting too, is until you get out of this environment, Oklahoma, the areas you're talking, you don't know how prevalent it is.
No, you
don't.
don't.
Grow up here, you're like, yeah, it's normal in a good way.
Because that's what we do.
And then you branch out. And like my grandpa, they spent time in California in his 30s before he came back to Oklahoma. And he shows me pictures of this, I mean, amazing landscapes, mountains, snow mountains, hills, valleys, all these things. Like, what brought you home? He's like, my people. Yeah. Like, I miss that.
Right.
And it didn't take him long. It's like you going to Utah. It's just, it's special. And I guess sometimes not take it for granted, but you don't realize how special it is until you're out of the environment.
You know, that first year was hard for us because we had immersed ourselves back into it. And my wife had, and the people in one had embraced her. The Comanche people had and loved her. And so when we left, it was very emotional. And that first year wasn't fun. And we came back, and I remember coming back in 19, and we did the Little Pony Powwow. And it was emotional. I mean, I saw people, we were crying, because we hadn't been around them in 4 or 5 years. So when I decided to retire, we couldn't get back here fast enough at the end of 22, and then I paid my way back in immediately. I went to an OKC Powwow Club powwow and paid my way back into the arena in January of 23 so I could get back in, jump back in. I had to get back in, and it felt weird to be back in because I had this hiatus. But
it probably felt like a sense of normal.
Yeah, exactly. It's where I'm supposed to be. And then, now I live here again and it's nonstop. I'm retired, so I can do this instead of doing it once a month. I can do it 2 or 3 times a month. So.
And it's so frequent.
Yeah, it's so frequent. Yeah, we're not in the season right now.
Yep.
But as you know, we'll be getting into the season here starting around April. And then from May until the end of September, maybe the middle of October, there's 4 or 5 every weekend. Just pick the one you want to go to.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a blessing to be where we're at.
Sure.
On the gourd dancing, I know you've explained the importance and the flow and things, but are there any aspects of the gourd dancing that I may have missed to ask about that you feel like sharing or had notes about sharing?
There's, in Oklahoma, like you pointed out, in Oklahoma, we have a rich tradition of it. Remember, we have 39 tribes kind of crammed into our borders here. And so our cultures have rubbed off on each other.
Yeah.
I'm going to a dance this weekend. It's a powwow. It's up in Stillwater. It's a fundraiser. The first half's going to be gourd dance and the second half stomp dance. And you might say, well, that's an odd combination. Well, it kind of is, but it's reflective of the multiple cultures we have here. Because we have Eastern American, U.S. or North American Indians, from Creek, Cherokee, Choctaw. That's their way. That's their deal. And remember, your student populations at the universities are reflective of the state in itself. So some of the students are from Central and Western, and the gourd dance is comfortable with them. Some of the students that'll be there and this after dinner in Stillwater this weekend will be gourd dancing. And the gentleman, the young man that invited me is a friend of mine I met while I was in school up there, and he's Shawnee. Well, I'm Shawnee. So I'm actually going to go watch a stomp dance, and I'm Shawnee, and I've never seen one. Okay? What does that say?
Yeah.
So you're not the only one that's been out. I just grew up in this part of the world and further west, and so I was exposed to the culture this way. Doesn't mean it's the best. It's just what I know. And so I'm going to go see some culture and connect myself to something that I probably should have connected to a long time ago.
Well, the good thing is it doesn't matter when it happens. It's just that it happens. So
right. It's
you're going to have a great weekend with that.
Yeah.
My question is, if you don't mind, just a quick description of the different dances. So I know you've talked about gourd dancing, but you've mentioned stomp, feather, grass, fancy.
So the gourd dance is a volunteer dance. In the powwow, over time, dances evolved, and we now have what we call dance categories that are traditional in a powwow. And tribes that choose to offer powwows or clubs that offer powwows will have men's dances and women's dances. And you'll have older, kind of your middle-aged groups of people. Then I say middle-aged, talking about from teens to maybe the 50s. That's a group of people that will compete together in the different categories. And then you have your tiny tots or younger people. And those dances have been defined, and that definition kind of evolved out of the leftovers of the dances I talked to you earlier about the Wild West shows. Okay, these dances kind of evolved out of those things and were built from them. You get woodland style dances, you get straight dance, you get traditional dance, you get fancy feather dance for men. Women's categories are buckskin, cloth, prairie dress. And prairie dress is something that's more northern or more back east. And so these categories have evolved over time. And then we have new things coming in. The hat and the boot was introduced up in Montana.
What's it called?
And hat and boot and hat, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's a new something. It's new. It's coming down from the north. And we're seeing demo dances show up now. And young people love them.
Okay.
And then another thing that starts to happen, much to the chagrin of a lot of traditionalists, you might have some rock and roll going on and people Indian dancing to it. That's a new one. Now, there's a lot of people, traditionalists, that struggle with that. You know, and I don't know where I feel on that, but there's always people adapt regardless of culture. And so things come in, but there are still traditions. Gourd dance is still a male dominated dance. Women, something you didn't, to kind of finish your question of what about gourd dance. Men will shake the rattles. Men will hold the fans. Women will go out into the arena, but that's a phenomenon that's relatively new. And I say in the last 30, 40, 50 years.
So before that, it was just males.
There are elders, I know, elder women that still stand on the side. They won't go out in the arena.
And that's when you see the older women and you just see them bouncing on the outside.
They'll be on the outside. Yeah. They'll be outside of the arena. They'll be on the back side of the benches where the men are sitting.
I've seen those ladies dancing by themselves.
I have friends that do that, and they're in their 80s and 90s, and they say, hey, I don't go out in
that's
there.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, the original dance, women didn't go out when it was introduced, and it was reintroduced in the 50s.
Well, it's just like these fans, like you mentioned, like my grandpa didn't hand them to his wife.
No.
So it's like, that type of stuff is powerful.
I don't do that. My wife doesn't carry my things. I carry my things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And women also, if you've been and you've noticed this, for a woman to go out in the arena, if she's not dressed out, she has to wear a shawl.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to go out into, we still have a propriety. There's still a respect of the arena. And for the woman, a more modern approach, women will go out into the arena now, but they dance on the outside of the arena. Right by the benches, right in front of the benches. Mm-hmm. You've seen that.
Yeah.
Okay. That is something that evolved from women dancing behind. And so my wife learned to dance, out on that outside. The only time you're going to see a woman go out into the arena is there are some women that will ring the drum and they will sing an accompaniment with the men. But the men will be at the drumming and singing and leading, and the women will be grouped around them. So there's always a ring and a ring. There's an outer ring of women around the ring. And so that's where those practices. There is a propriety that is observed when honorings, and you've seen an honoring where they single out an individual and people go and they throw $1 bills down.
Yes.
Women should come in behind and throw in through the gaps, put their money there. But some women will go in front. Just depends on the culture.
But usually those ones that have been involved for so long, they're going to go to the back.
If you're a Comanche, Kiowa, typically, your practice is to go to the back and do it formally. My wife practices the Comanche way. And
can you explain to me how they pick someone? Because when I've seen gourd dancing, luckily I was able to see my grandpa's last gourd dance. Mm-hmm. And the crazy part, and you'll feel this, is I knew it was.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting there and I'm like, I haven't seen him dance in 5-6 years. I know this is it. And to watch it was so powerful, but they chose him. So how do they choose?
There's several criteria. One can just be in the moment. You have a family member in need and they need some financial support. And so as Indian people take care of Indian people. It's a tradition.
Yes, sir.
We're supposed to do that. And so that's kind of an expression of that old idea that we take care of each other. That goes way back when they were, before assimilation, when they lived on their own and they lived in community and they had to take care of each other. Another way is if you are a princess or royalty, you'll bring your royalty out. It's very expensive for royalty to go to all these powwows. They're always expected to give things away. So it can be a financial aid.
Give things away, you mean like items?
Yeah. Blankets, gifts.
Stuff that's expensive.
If you're on staff, it's great because you get stuff, but you give stuff. And so the financial side of that can be helped too by people giving gifts. There are the head singer, and the drum will be brought out, and money will be thrown at their feet, and then you can.
My grandpa told us that, and I don't know if it'll resonate with you or not, but like he got the money that day and he always walks it to the drum.
I do too.
And so like as I watched him get all that money, he instantly put it in a buckskin and went to the drum.
That's what I do too.
Why is that?
The drum is the soul of what
it is the soul.
Those people need to be taken care of.
Yes, sir.
They're special. And we need to preserve that.
Mm-hmm.
And those people spend their own money to come. When a drum is invited, a drum itself may consist of 7, 8 guys and their wives or their girlfriends singing in accompaniment with them. But as you've seen, when the drum's set up, as the day goes on, 4 or 5 drums join them. And 6 and 7 people.
That one in the middle, and then there's so many.
You got 30 or 35 there. Well, those aren't the people that were contracted to come. These are people that just show up, spend their own money to come, spend their own time to come. Well, we need to help them. Mm-hmm. And so part of that gift, I know, goes back to helping them.
It's always helping.
They disperse that money evenly. We take care of each other. And so it continues to honor that. There's been 2 times I have not given money to the drum, but there was a specific need I knew need to be met by an individual financially, and I gifted those individuals, and I took the money to them.
And that's just as important.
Yeah, it's just as important.
It's the principle right there.
It's the principle of the thing. But I've never put the dollars in my pocket. Mm-hmm. And all the time I've done this, Gourd Dance for 20 some odd years, I've never put the money in my pocket.
It was so instant.
Yeah.
He was sitting there dancing, grabbed the money, walked it right up there.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's what we do.
And as far as fancy dance, what's your history with that? Because you said you did that as well, right? That's
when
I did. You're wearing these colors.
I did. I was a fancy feather dancer. Back in the late 60s, early 70s, in the day of the flat bustle. Now we have kind of looking bustles and a lot of fancy ribbon and stuff. It was a little bit more muted back then.
Now they're pretty vibrant.
Yeah, they are. It was a lot different when I did it. And it was really interesting. When I stopped, I was 22 years old because I got out of college and went in the military and went out and did life for a number of years, for 20 some odd years, till I moved to West Texas into my business life. And then got back involved. And the bustles I built with my sons were similar but different than some of the features that went into mine. And there's so much more color, and there's so much more stuff to work with than we had back then.
How do you feel about the difference? Because the Gourd dance, you kind of have a system. Like you said, you're starting out, you're sitting. Now you're standing up like you're riding a horse. Now you're walking. Mm-hmm. How do you feel on the fancy dance? Is it more personal, or is there still a flow that you're following? Or
there's dance songs. Mm-hmm. So again, know your song. If a successful dancer, there's a distinction here. In Gourd dancing, we don't have categories. Right. We don't have winners and losers. Right. Everybody wins. Right. We're all out there dancing.
Yes, sir.
I had a friend of mine tell me, Comanche buddy, very close friend, I consider a brother. He said, "Mark, we do it because we love it. Think about it. We don't get paid to do this. When you have categories at powwows, they win money. That's why you get the best dancers. There's always going to be a best fancy dancer senior, a best fancy dancer regular, a best fancy dancer youth. There's going to be a best jingle dress senior woman. That they compete, okay? Now, they go dance because they want to proactively move the culture. But they also compete for money, and you can win $1,000 in some powwows if you win first.
And if you're successful and consistent, that's a bunch of weekends.
I have a good friend that's a good Kiowa buddy that goes out there, and people would know him on site. And when he shows up, he's dancing for first, and you're dancing for second. You just have no choice. This guy's that good. And there are people like that, that when they show up, you're just trying to get third, because they're that good. But the Gourd dance, we do it because we love it. Mm-hmm. And it's the single longest running dance too. It goes for 4 hours with breaks. Whereas these others are categories, and they're done dispersed over days. Some powwows go on, as you know, on a day. Some powwows go on for 3 days. Yep. If there's a 3-day powwow, usually your youth and your senior stuff plays out on Friday night. Saturday night is the women's categories, and Sunday night will be the men's categories.
Yeah, it's always interesting with that on the 3-day, because it's like its own universe, because you wouldn't think Sunday would be like this longest night, but like Sunday's a long time.
A powwow starts at usually the Gourd dances will usually start anywhere from noon to 1, sometimes 2. You'll break, you'll come back in, you'll have dinner, and then you'll do grand entry, and then whatever categories you do that night, and you're there till midnight or 1.
Oh, easy.
I mean, it's a long day, and that's why there's a break, and then and it's distinctly different people. As a matter of fact, some people that offer powwows now are trying to deal with that because some people only show up for their events. Well, now you have to show up and do grand entries like 2 out of 3 nights to be able to compete because they want people in full grand entries.
Yeah.
They don't want just kids and seniors doing grand entry Friday night and just women doing grand entry on Saturday night and just men doing grand entry. So
it makes sense because that Friday I went to for the Indian Hills one, it was packed for the grand entry, and they were like, kids over here, men here, women here. It was all lined out. Yeah. Military first. Yeah. It's like, but that's good because it's keeping the energy high. Yeah. I can appreciate that. It's so interesting how powerful those things can be. I know that's like simple terms, but you go and you see people. Like I was at that powwow, and I look over and I see this lady, and she saw my bundle next to me burning because I was by myself. I just went by myself. So I just have a bundle burning next to me. I was like, this is like a powerful moment. And she looked at me and she was like, can I have some of that? And I was like, of course. And I was like, where are you from? And she's like, I'm actually from Arkansas. I'm not native at all. I just heard about this on Facebook and I came. And she's like, I think she teaches a class about it. Yeah. Not powwows, but native culture. Sure. And she was like, I wanted to get involved. And like, that was a beautiful moment for me where I was like, yeah, it's just whoever wants to feel this greatness. Like that's the simplest way I can put it. And I just thought it was so cool that this lady had never been to a powwow, and I happened to sit next to her, and she's just watching this gourd dance. And I saw her again at 11 o'clock when they were doing other dances, and there were 6 or 7 drums.
Still there.
Alternating. I'm like,
still there.
I know why I'm here, but it's the same reason she's here. Yeah, it's like, still it just there. Grabs you.
Yeah, still there. It's fun. I never get tired of it. My wife and I go. We were my Gourd Society, Clan Society, wasn't the host of the OSU powwow, but as an alumni, I went, and the students had asked me to go. And so I was there and did some prayer, and they asked me to speak for them during the powwow, so I did it for the student group there at the Sovereign Center. But we went, and who did we sit with? We sat with friends that were little ponies and non-little ponies, and we were there from the gourd dance all the way through to the end, and I did the prayer that night, so I did need to stay the whole time, the closing prayer.
And the closing prayer, how long is that? Is that something that can alternate?
Prayer is important. Prayer is typically done 3 times. So there's a prayer done before the start. Usually there's a smoking that goes on before an event starts, and then there's a prayer. And then there's a prayer before dinner, and then there's a closing prayer. And for my closing prayers, I've never put a stopwatch to it. I would think it would go on for a couple of minutes because I'm mindful that I'm speaking to our Creator, and I have an audience with Him, and I have a responsibility representing the people in that audience and myself. And so I should apply a conduct to that appropriate. And I thank Him for the opportunities presented to us, for the people that served in the military that were out there. Because, Native people, 11 to 12% of Native people serve in the military. I don't know if you're aware of that.
That's a lot.
That is the largest number, grouping by percent, of any ethnic group in this country.
Every prayer I was ever involved with my Native side, think in the military.
Yeah, got to. And I'm a veteran, so I get goosebumps talking about it. But you, and then you think the staff, and you think, and then you want protection for the people. So you're praying. Remember, you're praying for the people, so you want protection for the people. So those kind of a basket of ideas I take into a prayer when I pray for a prayer in a group setting like that, especially one cultural setting like that.
How do you feel as far as like the responsibility or the honor of doing it?
It can be emotional. Yeah. When I came back in 2023. And they had the OSU powwow, and I was going to school there doing American Indian Studies as a retired person. The Mr. and Miss Oklahoma State came and asked me to speak for them. And I got emotional because I wasn't prepared for it. They had not asked me before. even though I had been a classmate of theirs, and there's an age gap. I mean, come on, I'm 65, When I went to school, I said, hey, I'm not your normal 25-year-old person in this class. I'm 65 and I'm here to get used to retiring and give my wife a break. That's what I told everybody. That was my shtick.
They're like, oh, well, we love you.
That was my shtick, and everybody loved it, especially my instructors. They really loved it. And, but the honor of doing it was I had to get up because they asked me to do it. And fortunately, they asked me to do it about 30 minutes before their special.
So you had a little time.
I got up and walked out of the arena. My wife said, where are you going? I said, I got to get my head together. I was emotional. If I'd have gotten up and spoken that moment, I would have cried. That would have affected me emotionally. And I felt it. And I knew I was right there. And so I went for a walk. I walked around. I prayed about it. Took a deep breath, came back, got up there and did it. And then the last couple of years, they've asked me to do other things, so I've done them. And so, but I was more prepared emotionally this time. But
yeah.
It's the emotion that was not only as an alumni, but it was as a unique alumni. And the fact that 2 generations, some of these students, I knew their grandparents. I still know their grandparents. I know their parents, okay? Because I was 62, 63, 64. They're 19, 20, 21. I mean, one of them I found out I was related to.
Not surprising.
Yeah, because that's the way the community works, right? Careful who you talk about because it just might be somebody you're related to.
My grandpa was like, if you go to Lawton, everybody's your cousin. It's like, okay.
Just don't talk about anybody. Yeah. You don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
But, I found out some of these guys were, related and so it's fascinating. And then to make the connections back, and then see those young people. There's some young people I see now in Lawton, when I'm dancing or I'm somewhere else in the student, and they're either still students or they're grads, and they come, hey man, it's like there's not an age gap, because that arena and this culture squares everything up. Mm-hmm. Everybody's equal.
Yeah.
And it's all about the culture, and it's all about the acumen, and all about what you're doing to do it right. And people are blind to the age side, which also applies to the tribal side. That's why powwows and a lot of the stuff is intertribal. Yes, there are specific dances that, you may be aware, you're Comanche, that you may be aware there's a war dance society. Mm-hmm. And then there's a 2E, which they do, and it's a special dance, which is done, and they typically will do it in front on Sunday of the Comanche Fair. And it's something you should go see if you haven't, because it's a dance specific to the Comanche people. And only Comanches were allowed to do it, and they're selected to do it. Rightfully so. And every tribe, the Osages have a series of dances that goes on in the late spring, summers that they do all around the 3 different areas up in northeast Oklahoma. And every tribe has these kinds of things. But a lot of dances are quote unquote intertribal. And whether you're Indian people or you're non-Indian, but you appreciate the culture and you can respect the culture and love the culture and practice it, you're allowed to do it. Just don't, approach it that way. You're going to be fine.
Yeah, for sure. Another question I had is, and I'm using a lot of my grandpa's experience because that's where I learned all my stories.
Sure.
And he would say there were times, because you are dressed correctly with the long sleeves and things, and you're just out there just drenched in sweat. And he said, but it doesn't matter. You're in a zone, and it doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees. You're doing it for the right reasons. Can you speak on that when you're in a altered state? Because I know there's times when you're dancing for that long, whether it's hot, cold, or just activity, and you're exerting so much, but obviously there's something fueling you. What is that?
Well, what you're talking about is engagement, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, at a fundamental level.
Yes, sir.
And you're buying in, and you're emotionally and physically engaged. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these powwows are done in the summer. Go to Tonkawa at the end of June when it's 70% humidity and it's 100 degrees. Okay, it is hot, but we're out there doing it. And as we get older, we've got to be more careful with that. But it's like anything. Did you play sports?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then, if you're out there playing football or baseball and it's hot, you just you learn to ignore it, right? You play through it. Well, this is no different than that, because you're emotionally engaged, you're physically engaged, you're mentally engaged. You just kind of push on through it. You do learn to hydrate yourself. I mean, I'm I drink a lot of water, drink a lot of Gatorade. We bring snacks. And then the people at the powwow take care of us, especially if you're on staff. And if you're not on staff, they'll bring water buckets around to people.
Do you feel an altered state though?
I ignore it. Yeah. I mean, that's my way of answering that.
Elevate it.
I just ignore it. I'm out there and you're into it and you're in the groove and you're feeling that drum like we talked about earlier and it's emotional. All I'm feeling is emotion to it. And what ends up happening in the gourd dance, if you haven't noticed this, people start out away from the drum and then they'll kind of move in over time, the progression of songs, and then they'll step back, move in, step back. And then they'll start rotating around the drum and praying. That's when I pray. Because gourd dance was originally a dance of prayer. It was associated with Sundance. It was in preparation mentally for Sundance. Well, I still believe that. I still practice the idea that if I'm dancing and stepping, I'm praying. I'm talking to the Creator. I'm talking to God. I do that.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of things going on, especially when I was a businessman and engineer and all. I carried a lot of responsibility. And that arena became my outlet to be with Creator.
Where you can clear out and just talk with the Most High.
Yeah, and so I actually practiced that. But what ends up happening when you get down to that last hour, you'll see people start drawing into the drum. And the drum beat will accelerate. And the tempo of the songs will be called Mustang. And it'll take off. And you're dancing like crazy. The speed is like double, triple. And it's really crazy because I actually dance better with that. Because there's no time to think about what you're doing. You're just responding to these different cadences. And, but yeah, I get lost in it, willingly lost in it. Yes. Allow myself to go there. Just you push those things out of your mind. You're right. You don't feel them. Now after it's over, you're like, oh my gosh, it's hot. But in that moment, you're not quitting, and you go back and the older I get, the more I might take a couple of songs off or a set off, because I am 65, 66. But that's just good health. But let me tell you, when I'm out there, I'm out there, even today. We had a New Year's dance. OKC Powwow Club had one at Western Heights Junior High the first weekend in January, and then the Little Ponies had one the weekend before New Year's. Down in Lawton at the Watchtaker Hall. You've probably been in there to one. Well, that's winter, okay? And we're not outside. But I can tell you we did the same thing. That last 2 or 3 sets, everybody is moving quickly to the middle. Okay, we're not hanging around at the end. The only people out on the edge are people being pulled out, being honored. And then the minute you're done with that, you're moving back in as close as you can get. And then a lot of us, because I grew up with these songs, and know these songs from the 70s and some I've learned some of the newer ones that came along after that. I'm in there singing while I'm dancing. A lot of us are singing along with the singers.
Just a completely different state of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. You are connected.
So healing.
Yeah. I have about 5 I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. I have different songs that I connect to. I know them right off. I know who that are. And these songs, one thing we haven't talked about is songs. I think it's important to understand.
Well, you read my mind because that's where I was going towards.
Okay, good. Then let's jump into it.
Please.
There are private songs. There are family songs. There are individual songs. And then there are open songs.
Difference between a private and an individual.
Okay. An individual, some song can be private to a family event.
Okay, that's what you mean.
And they were written to address an event or events like that are sung there at those events. And those are family expressions. And those are permission songs, okay? There can be songs that are dedicated to individuals. There can be a family song, or your grandfather might have had his own song. Somebody like a Galen Moton might have written a song for your grandfather and given it to him.
Yes, sir.
And that song's only going to be sung if your grandfather would have been given permission for them to do it. I have been at a powwow where one of those songs was sang because somebody fired up and started singing it. And I saw a lady walk out and stop the drum. I witnessed this happen back in the teens, it was like 2015, 2014, 15. I'm trying to think where it was. And she said, we need to stop because that is a private song. And I know the family and they're not here. And what happened was a young person had learned the song, but didn't understand it was a family song. and it didn't have permission.
And did everyone just...
Everybody stopped. And they thanked her, and permission was given to move on, and another song was chosen. But I actually witnessed that happen where they got stopped. The rest of the songs are open architecture, as we like to say in engineering. You know, they're open. Anybody can sing them. Our Comanche the Little Pony song that you talk about, you know, your grandfather's Little Pony, I'm in that society. We have our own song. I mentioned the Kiowas gave it to us. It's an open song. So it's not unusual when people are in Lawton to just break out that song and sing it. If we're doing our special band, they break out that song and do it. But I've been at Gourd Dances I go up to Delaware, which is Copan outside of Bartlesville every year. And I Gourd Dance. Oh, they'll sing the Little Pony song once or twice because it's an open song. They'll sing Kiowa songs. They'll say, you'll hear some Uto songs. You'll hear some polka songs, you know, they're Comanche songs that are written. So that's the differences in song. Oh, there's open songs. Everybody can sing them, no problem. But you have to be very careful about songs owned by families or individuals because you can't just fire up and start singing those things.
And it's crazy because that's just through being passed down. Because how are people going to know?
It's all
family song.
It's the oral tradition.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, the documented traditions like these books that I talked about, those are great things. But Indian peoples moved information through oral channels. And that went on over thousands of years. And so a lot of learning was done and moved orally. Well, we still believe in that oral tradition today. Songs are taught that way. It's not unusual for a song group to come in and maybe have 4 or 5 young teenagers, you know, 10, 11, 12-year-olds around the drum. And those kids are there to learn they want to learn the songs. And they're given an opportunity to learn the songs. And so it just like somebody teaching you how to do your moccasins that you talked about, or me teaching my kids, or somebody taught me, we gave that. These men and women are teaching their young children the songs, and they're gifting the songs. Without the songs, we don't have this. Without these, we have songs, but we don't have cultural events. They go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. Okay, they fit like this. It's not a miss. It's on purpose. And so we have to teach both. No, I never have been. Never have been.
One day,
maybe. I don't know.
It's so cool with the songs though, because the drum obviously is so powerful, but those songs, it's like when I'm knowing I need to have a moment of clarity and I need to clear the noise, I may sit there and burn some sage or burn some cedar and have songs playing so I can only focus on that.
Right.
Or if I'm trying to be more in tune while I braid my hair, I may play those songs because I know it's supposed to be a spiritual experience, sure. 3 strands and all those things. And it's funny that when chaos is attacking me, when it's not just doing my hair or something, but when it's like chaos from the world, it's like those songs that'll like slow me down and bring me back. And I haven't danced, I haven't played the drum, I haven't done those things, but it's in you. And it is special to speak on those songs because when you see the young person doing it or anyone around the drum and you have the person leading and the people following, it's just like, it's so powerful. Us talking about it isn't even giving it like a good description. Like it's so powerful.
Mm-hmm. You know, you're talking about generational effect, right? Mm-hmm. You're handing things off in generations. When I came back into this, we were talking about when I came back from Ohio and got involved in 2006. I was alarmed that we did not have more younger people at the drum or in the arena. When I went away to Utah and I came back, you know, after 8 years, I now see more. I'm much happier about it because I'm seeing people generationally step in the void now. I'm much happier. I wish we had more, believe me.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I started dancing in the late 60s, early 70s, we were just glad to be out there because we finally had the rights to do it. Now you don't have those obstructions. Life gets in the way now. So when you decided to take your steps forward and engage yourself, it's all about agency, what we call agency, personal ownership, right?
Okay.
And I said something to you earlier at the start of this. You have chosen a path for yourself that distinguishes you, okay? And you're trying to do it right. Mm-hmm. That's the second thing you need to do and go through your processes. but you're going to assume a culture, do it right. You can't exist. You told me before we started, I asked you what you did. You told me about the businesses you had and how you functioned in this outside world of capitalism and economy, and you were having success. But yet you've segmented part of your life to understand where you come from, right? Just like I have.
Yes, sir.
Those are choices we made. Okay? We can be a high-functioning person outside world and be a high-functioning person in a cultural world. It is possible today to do that. And when I see somebody like you do that, and somebody like me that did this and went out and got engineering degrees and then went out and built semiconductor fabs and worked in refineries, and I was a pilot in the Air Force, and yet I still do this, you and I are living examples that you can be high-functioning in both. And it's possible to do both. And that gives me hope. That tells me that in the future, we can still do both. It's not impossible. You can't do one and sacrifice the other, like people thought at one time in this country. No, you can do both. And you can be successful in both. So I'm encouraging you to keep the walk. Yes, whatever you need from me to keep going, you tell me. I'll help you.
I definitely will.
Okay.
It's, you know how God works. It's always interesting. And I always feel like I'm taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And I called my cousin and was like, hey, I've got this buckskin. I skinned it. I didn't tan it, which now that I got it tanned for me, just how my brain works, I'm like, all right, I'm tanning the next one. But I got some buckskin that I got tanned, and it was actually smoked a little bit, so it's a little more yellow.
Got the yellow look.
And I called and I said, hey, can you help me make my first pair of moccasins? And that was normal for me to say that. I felt like that was a normal thing. When I got there, my cousin and his wife said, hey, I want you to know how meaningful and important it was that you called and said, can you show me how to make them? Instead of calling me and saying, hey, I know she does moccasins. Can she make me some moccasins? They said, you took the time. And we cut them out, and they're like, do you want to beat them? And I was like, it seems like I've never sewn anything. This is the first thing I've sewn. And
you got to beat them first before you put them together, as you know.
Yep. And right now, I'm from the tip of the toe right here to about here on one side.
Yeah.
And before I started beating, I was like, I'm kind of scared to try and beat them. And they're like, listen, I believe in you. And I think for your spirit, you would feel very good about trying.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've started doing it, and it has been therapeutic, but it's that moment happens. And then I'm wanting to get involved in eventually dancing. And I'm like thinking, there's no way. I didn't grow up doing it at 3 years old. And then I talked to my cousin. He's like, yeah, I'm 40. I started at 37. And I'm like, oh. So it's like all these little moments of like, maybe you weren't ready at that time.
Right.
And now you're in a mindset where you are ready.
Right.
And is it tough thinking, wow, those times you went with your grandpa, you could have just been dancing instead of just hanging out, even though it was still a good experience. It's like, no, you can't think of the past, like you said earlier. You can't dwell on that.
No.
You have to dwell on like the chapters here now. And
I live right now, and I live in the future, which is right now. You know, so I can only deal with what I can deal with.
And I was talking to my cousin Jason, the one with the moccasins, and I was like, well, I have regalia because of my grandfather. He's like, I know. He's like, I think that's more, I think you hold on to that. I think you go ahead and make everything. And I was like, okay. And he's like, start with the moccasins. He's like, but when you make everything, it's a different feeling when you're in that circle because you know what you did to be there. And you saying what you did, I can tell you it means a lot. But internally, without me being even able to put it into words, it was like a strong moment of love for you to say that. So I appreciate it. And I'm appreciative that these moments are coming up because when I started the podcast, obviously the native culture was important to me because the emblem's a dream catcher. But I interviewed a native named Jake Keys that owns a brewery. It's one of the only native-owned breweries. He was real big on showing that we're not savages with alcohol. You can have a business with it. And during the interview, he said, Zach, it's like, you know, God speaks through you all. And he's like, what you're doing is important. Interviewing natives like this, that's huge. Like you're pushing culture. That's amazing. I'm proud of you. And I didn't even think about it at the time. Like I took it then, but before he said it, it wasn't like a conscious thought. And then now I've been able to have different natives on. Now I'm sitting here with you diving deep into this, and I'm like, yeah, it's normal for these items to be close to me. I feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. This isn't normal for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm happy that sometimes you kind of just have to trust what's going on, and it'll bring you into moments like this.
Well, it's, we use that word agency again. You've chosen to own this. You've chosen to own who you are. Look, it doesn't matter when the seeds were planted. Mm-hmm. The seeds were planted. You're coming back full circle, okay? And that's what happens in life. We come back to full circle. We have multiple opportunities to come back to full circle. Doesn't mean we will, but you are. You look at it this way. It's a timing thing. God the Creator puts people on our path at different times and natures. Think about your walk. I'm using your words now. Don't you hate it when this happens? You use your words against you, so to speak. But I'm binding myself to what you're saying. You started a process. You're here. Now you're learning this while you're doing it. Hopefully that would energize you to go home tonight and want to break this thing out.
It's like I need to beat a little more tonight.
I need to be working. Yeah. But also think about it too.
But why is it coming up now?
Like, correct. Why now? Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then, but even more importantly, what are you going to do with it now? Mm-hmm. Now that you have a relationship with me and I'm a pathway in, what are you going to do with that? So, and again, those are your choices. But again, God puts things in front of us and to promote or to open doors and to continue things. So it doesn't matter how you got there. You got there. That's what a friend of mine told me. Doesn't matter how you got there. It's you got there. And you chose to get there. And if you're going to do it right or don't do it at all. It sounds like you're trying to do it right.
Trying.
So whatever you need from me, you tell me. I'm on board.
I think it's so interesting how that works.
Okay.
Zonley's thought, I need to connect you with this guy. And then we hop on a phone call and now we're here. And, if we would have met 2 months ago, I wouldn't even know how hard this was for you to do. And I'm not saying like it's impossible. It's just the amount of time.
Yeah.
It takes time to, for people that don't know on these moccasins, it takes time to pick up every single bead. It takes time to pick up these 11 beads every single time or 9 beads. So it's a testament.
I probably have, it probably took me a couple months to beat them. And remember, I'm running businesses in Oklahoma, West Texas at the time, traveling back and forth. So these were mobile with me. You can sit in hotels and do this and you don't get in trouble. That's the good part. And, but then to make them, and as you and I talked about, you have to take them, sew them up, and then flip them inside out and hope you don't tear the beads out. People are listening to this going, what? Don't you beat on the outside? No. You do, and they're inside out, and then you got to flip them.
My cousin said that's when you test how good your sewing was.
I've had a moccasin top rip on me, and it destroyed a whole beaded moccasin, and I had to beat it over. So disasters can happen, but you're right. Once you own it, when I listened to your story, one of my sons, my oldest son, when we built his bustle. I showed him, he'd seen my bustles and they were falling apart, but I had pictures of them. And I said, we're going to do this, son, but here's what we're going to do. I'm going to build one feather. You're going to build 71. And I'm going to take you through the process. And it looks complex because you've seen fancy bustles. You know what I'm talking about. It's one step followed by another step, followed by another step. First of all, we're going to select our feathers based on size. Okay, we got that done. Then what we're going to do is trim our feathers based on size where we're going to put them in the stack. Then what we're going to do is we're going to cut the flexing because we're going to start working on the tops and that stuff down. And so I would literally do something, and then my son would go away and do it 71 times and repeat the process. Then he would come back, and after about 2 or 3 times, he goes, this isn't that hard. And I said, no. He said, the hard part is knowing when to do each step and how to do it. Mm-hmm. I said, that's the magic. And I'm teaching you that magic and I'm reinforcing it, and you're reinforcing it 71 times. So when we're done, you will have built 71 of the 72 feathers in these 2 bustles. The benefit is that you always have it. So he just taught his sons how to do it over the last year or 2. And he's 35. But it's been that long, so he remembers it. The other interesting part, and I told him, hey, when it breaks, you fix it. I don't got to fix it. So you know how to fix it. If you're dancing in the powwow and I'm not there, you know how to fix it and keep going. So there's the functional side. But that goes with you. That's part of the beauty of your journey right now, Zach, is that you are learning those processes. And there's a functional side, but there's a spiritual ownership side too. Yeah. And then you're putting into play the agency side. You're owning your heritage. You're expressing yourself too. You have the joy of that too.
Yeah, it's like in anything, sports or whatever, work, whatever it is, you have to put in the work to, make your way to the dance.
Right.
And sports-wise, that means you're getting in shape, or work-wise, that means you're making the sacrifices and being consistent. And it's a nice feeling of fulfillment, even though I'm about 30% done with just one. But I feel so much ownership from beating them to where I'm like, yeah, they're walking me through the steps, but I have enough buckskin left. I'll be able to make my wife's for her.
Yeah.
Like there's these instant moments.
Sure.
And like I said, these items bring me comfort. Yeah. Being this close, seeing any type of pox, these things bring me comfort. And I'm happy that we're on a platform where people can see it and get a feel. Because I was blessed enough to grow up around it where seeing things like this is normal, and it's not normal for everybody. And it's just a blessing, man. Like being able to talk to you and get so much knowledge. It's all I can say is a blessing, because this is a nice moment for me. And I just appreciate you a lot. I really do.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come promote the culture. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the history, and how this beautiful dance was saved. There was a moment of grace there that saved this. And it's the fact that a culture almost extinguished, but then has been reborn and then persevered. It's Americana, man. I mean, it's part of North American cultures, and it's who we are. Just proud to be part of it. But I appreciate the opportunity to share this too. And, whatever you need from me on your journey, you tell me, I'll help you.
Well, it'll be.
Sounds like you're going to need somebody to coach you on making a gala. So I'll step up and help you with that.
Yeah. Well, and I know you will, but that's the cool thing about it.
I'm not going to build it for you, but I'll show you how to build it.
And I read something where you can't try to look at your whole life all at once.
Correct.
You have to be present, like you were talking about.
Right. Yeah.
That's a moment that when I look back, I remember a piece of culture getting indoctrinated to me. And I'm just thankful. Did you have any other items in here you wanted to share?
No, this is typical. This is a box, cedar box.
Did you make it?
This was actually made by my best friend growing up, who passed away a number of years ago.
I love that.
And this is his box.
What's his name?
His name is Steve Brandt.
Steve Brandt?
It's Brandt. He was a doctor here in town, and he sang with a number of groups, and he was a little pony as well. And he was white, German American. And so, but Steve and I grew up together as his kids. And ironically, I introduced him to the powwow culture, took him with me. But we met when we were in Boy Scouts, 12 years old. But he passed. He's Uncle Steve to my kids. And then I have another cedar box, and then I have cedar boxes I gave my kids that my kids use. So, but this is typical of what you have. You bring everything with it. You show up at a Gourd dance, you've got your slacks on, if you're not already natived out with your leggings and all, and your shirt, and you mount up and you get out there, and then you pack everything up there, and it stays here. And I've got two of these. I've got one with my Comanche items that are red, yellow, and blue out of respect to the Comanche tribe and to Comanche people and the Little Ponies. And then I've got this, which I dance with when I'm not, like I said, repping the tribal brand. So, so I keep them separate and distinct, and they're up in a special area, and nobody touches them but me, and it's the way it works. So
it's awesome.
And my wife has her stuff in her room, with her shawls and her fans and things of that nature. So
I look forward to having you on again.
Oh, thank you.
I would love to dive deeper into any subject. Did I leave anything you wanted to talk about today?
No, not really. I just kind of touched on the brevity of the dance. Maybe one of the things we explore is how those dances survive. How do we get to a powwow? I did a dissertation on all this at OSU, so that's where some of this comes from.
Do you have time, or did you want to save it for another
Yes,
episode?
So we'll do another one. That's a whole different category. I had to refine that, because you're talking about, that's it right here. This is taking a big piece of literature here.
When you want to get it on the schedule.
Yeah, we can go do that at some point. So.
People are going to get blessed with these sections with you.
Now remember, I'm just one guy who's done research. I want to be real careful because there are many people that are uncomfortable about talking about these things. There are those, though, that live in the culture that, whether we have education or not, sharing things verbally is an oral tradition. I'm sharing things in an oral setting here. And that is important to us. And I do believe the only way people are going to learn is if we share and we're open. So I don't share this out of disrespect. I share this out of respect. But I'm very careful to say, this is what I've learned. This is what people have taught me. Much of what I practice and do is a reflection of what people have taught me. Like you have gone for guidance. I just didn't learn this one day.
Yes, sir.
I just didn't go out and just start practicing it. The people came to me and taught me. And when I was wrong, they taught me I was wrong. They told me I was missing something, or here, you need to be doing this. You're not doing that. I remember some coaching I got one time coming off of I was probably about 13 or 14, and I came off. We were over there behind the Indian school in Lawton dancing up on that flat area, and Doc Tate was there. And Doc was friends with my buddy Donnie, who was kind of like an uncle to me. And Doc came over, and if you know who Doc Tate is, he was an artist.
I have his art tattooed on my body. Okay. He was friends with my grandpa.
He addressed me because he didn't like something I did, and he knew who I was as a young person. And he came to me and he said, "Come here." And he goes, "What's that thing on your head?" And I said, "Porky roach." He goes, "What's in that porky roach?" He goes, I said, "A rocker." And he goes, "Why aren't you using it?" He goes, "The only thing keeping you from winning is you are not using the tools you have." Well, that was coaching by an elder who did it in a loving manner. He didn't yell at me. He said, "Come here. I want to talk to you." He didn't have to do that. Yeah. He could have ignored me. Now here I am, 65, 66 years old, telling you that story. That man's an icon. Now, I didn't know who he was. Yeah. Well, I kind of did, but I kind of didn't.
Yeah, but you don't know
He was a friend of my uncle.
Yeah, you don't know the weight.
I didn't know who he was. Yeah. Now I look back and I'm like, are you kidding me? I got coached by one of the greats, So
to make you laugh, like I said, Doc Tate was friends with my grandpa. So when my grandpa moved last to the house they have now, he gave me some artwork. And so one of my uncles is Harvey Pratt, who just passed away. Yeah. And so I got some Harvey Pratt paintings. I got some Charles Pratt paintings. Okay. But then I got some Doc Tate's. There we go. And so I got some of Harvey's work and some of Doc's work tattooed on my body. But it was funny. When I first started getting tattoos, my grandpa was like, ew. He didn't like it. Yeah. And then within a year of getting tattoos, because I started getting quite a bit of native stuff, I went to a family reunion and he was like, "Come here. Let me... So this one's Doc Tate, this one's Harvey, this one's da-da-da." And so I love it. And something else, just because we're talking about connection and like you getting coached by Doc Tate. Watch a taker. My dad went to a powwow in Lawton by the Wichitas when he was maybe 3 or 4 years old, and he was the youngest Comanche there. So Widgie, watch a taker.
It's probably the 80s or the 90s, yeah. I guess.
No, he was younger, so he would have been, it was the 70s. Yeah. It would have been like 73.
I could have very well been there.
He could have been there.
I would have known, yeah.
But since my dad was the youngest Comanche there, Watch a Taker wanted to make him something. I think he made him a gourd.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's just crazy to hear the connections. You're talking about Watch a Taker Hall with the Comanche powwow. Oh, Doc Tate coached me, and it's that's why this stuff is meant to be.
But that's the inclusive nature of the culture. And that's the way the people take care of each other. Nobody's more important than the other. And that's the approach that we should, if you're not humble yet, you're going to get humbled. Yeah. And so Indian people are humbled. They have hundreds of years of being humbled the hard way, and now today have come out the backside of that culturally strong legally with sovereignty and guaranteed in the Constitution, and then reestablished these things, through the legal processes and systems since the 70s. And But yet here we still have our culture. So, but we're always taking care of each other. It doesn't matter whether we have a title or we don't, or are standing or we don't. It doesn't matter. It's just not the way. The way is that we take care of each other. And, later on you can look back like you and I did and go, oh my, but.
Well, it'll be nice when I'm in my 60s and I tell people about you.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
something about the inclusivity that you're saying is, it's funny how the world works, full circle. I tried to get into real estate about a little over 8 years ago, failed. So for a month or so, I was working at a physical therapy clinic down here in Midtown because my friend's uncle owned it. When I was there, I met a lady named Marilyn Bond who actually cooks a lot and does a lot of activities for the homeless. And she's involved in the Oklahoma City Powwow Club.
I know the name. I know who she is. I'm aware of her.
She messaged me and said, hey, you should come to the Indian Hills one. That's why I went.
Yeah.
And I went. And then when I saw her just talking about inclusiveness, she said, oh, nephew, come here, and introduced me to her whole family. And I go to leave, and I get to my motorcycle, and I'm like, just grab that medicine and go back over there. I think you should do a blessing with her too. So I reach in my saddlebag, grab my sage, walk back over there, burn it. She said, I think your grandpa's real happy you did that and came back for me. Like, I appreciate you. And she doesn't know my grandfather. And she barely knows me, but we have that connection. And
right. Well, you have a stronger connection now.
Yeah. And I just get goosebumps again because everything you're saying.
Sure.
Is so meaningful.
Yeah.
So, and I know we could go on all day, but I just appreciate you. Last thing I'll end with, because talking about being corrected.
Yeah.
I did this painting one time of a peace pipe and a medicine bag. I was so proud of it. I thought it was pretty good. So I go over to my grandpa's and I'm like, hey, Papa, look at this. And he's like, it's really nice. But the yellow goes in the middle for Comanches. And it was like instant. And I loved it. And I think of it every day when I walk past it. He was like, you could probably fix it. And now I don't want to. Because I walk by and I see it. And I'm
right.
Like,
it teaches that we have flaws in our life. It's okay to have a flaw.
It's the same thing with the beads. They said that you're going to make mistakes. And when you look back, you'll remember at that point.
We politely call those signature beads.
Yep. I had one that messed up and I left it.
Which is a cop-out way of saying we messed up. But yeah, I have one in the belt that I was telling you about, at 65 beads wide. And I used the wrong color, but I know where it is. And so if anybody ever said, is that yours? I would say, yes, go to the third set of wings, fourth one in, and there's a wrong color red in there and you'll see it. You know? But that's how we cover that.
Well, my cousin told me that about the moccasins, and then he showed me some sticks that a lady always does a, what'd you call the bead? Signature bead. Yeah. So I'm beating mine last weekend. And I got to a point where I messed up the triangle. And I was like, I'm leaving that one. And now it's like 8 away. Right. But I know where it is. And I'm like, dang, I accidentally did my own signature.
It bugs you too, doesn't it?
I was like,
but then again, you learn not to let it bug you, because that's life. That's how life works. Not everything's perfect. And there are blemishes. And it's what our character is, what we do with those experiences. Did we learn from the experience and move on? Sometimes we need those things to keep us humble. I need those things to keep me humble. So I'm not afraid. Somewhere on here, I've got one where I messed up on that handle too. I can't remember where it is, but yeah, I actually put one in the belt, and I left it in the belt last week, and I'm leaving it. That's my. I just finished a fan for a good friend of mine. I call him my brother, and he's a Cherokee Chickasaw white guy, and good buddy. And I actually on purpose did something. And we were sitting together. He was brought into Kiowa, Taipei this last summer. And he asked me to speak for him. And I accepted the honor and went and spoke for him when they brought him in. And I presented his fan to him, a beautiful salt and pepper eagle fan. And I beaded it all up. I may have a picture of it. See if I can find it. And I said, there's a flaw in here. And I said, I'll give you $50 if you can find it. And he's like, are you kidding me? I went, no, I'll give you $50 if you can find it. Because he kept saying, I'll find it. And I said, no, you won't. That's the fan I made for him. I designed the beadwork, did the beadwork.
It's beautiful beadwork.
Yeah. And so it's at the bottom of the handle down here. And I used a yellow instead of a white bead. Well, there's so much yellow in that thing and so much color it's being thrown off.
Is this one? The green?
So, yeah,
It's
that's
all-
it. That's it. That's it. I took the picture so you could see it. He looked and looked. It took him 2 hours. And I said, are you giving up yet? He goes, no, I want the $50. And so it got dark. And finally I said, hey, it's dark. Day's over.
Yeah, the 50s.
We're into the night. We're into the night. He goes, where is it? And I said, come here. And so I pointed out and I showed him the green bead. And he goes, oh, I'm looking right at it. And I said, I know. You can't tell because the light blue and the yellow, you can't. It pitches together.
Yeah, you're the only one that's going to know.
I put that on there by accident. And then because I know I caught it with my eye, but I thought, not leaving it. Then I'll play with Billy and see what happens.
Well, I think one of the biggest blessings from the podcast has been building relationships that last longer than this episode.
Good.
So I appreciate you not only uplifting me today, but educating me. And I look forward to more interaction.
Good.
But I appreciate you so
Good.
much.
No, I appreciate the
Thank you.
opportunity to come and talk about this.
It was
Thanks.
a blessing. Thank you. We'll get out of here.